One morning around 8 a.m., Sarah was spending time with her son, Josh, at a park. The peaceful atmosphere suddenly changed when a helicopter flew overhead. The sound of its rotor blades immediately triggered Sarah's trauma, and her mind was flooded with memories of the past. Sarah used to be a former German Special Forces soldier who had taken part in a joint NATO operation in Afghanistan alongside American troops and other allied forces. During the mission, almost her entire team was killed, while Sarah was one of the few who survived. The incident left her with deep trauma, and her mental condition kept getting worse until she eventually decided to retire from the military. As those memories came back to haunt her, a man who was playing with his family accidentally bumped into Sarah. Because of the reflexes she had developed during the war, Sarah immediately took the man down and beat him as if she were fighting an enemy on the battlefield, breaking his nose and making it bleed heavily. A few moments later, Sarah finally snapped out of her reflexes and realized what she had done. She immediately apologized to the man before taking her son home. A few years later, Josh had grown older. One day, Sarah took him to the United States Embassy. They were now living in Germany, and Sarah was applying for a work visa to start a new life in the United States. Josh's father was also an American citizen who was killed while serving in Afghanistan. That was why Sarah wanted Josh to live in his father's home country. On the way to the U.S. Embassy, Sarah received a message from a journalist claiming to have important information about her last mission. The journalist said the information could reveal how the enemy had discovered the location of their unit and managed to launch the attack. The journalist also sent a video, which Sarah watched immediately. After arriving at the embassy, they had to wait for quite a while. Since he was starting to get bored, Sarah left Josh in the children's playroom for a while.
Okay, in 10 Minuten. Aber
du kannst mich doch holen, bitte.
As she walked out of the room, her attention was drawn to two young men standing in front of a door leading to a restricted area. Sarah saw one of them hand a bag to his companion before the young man walked out through the door. Even though she felt something was suspicious, Sarah chose not to think too much about it. Not long afterward, she returned to the playroom to pick up Josh, but her son was no longer there. Panicking, Sarah searched every corner of the building, checking every room and office. Even after searching everywhere, Josh was nowhere to be found, as if someone had kidnapped him. Sarah then asked Eric, the regional security officer at the embassy, for help. She begged him to open the door leading to the restricted area immediately because she suspected Josh had gone in there. Eric ordered all the security officers to search the entire building for the boy, but he still refused to open the door, saying that the area was off limits to unauthorized people.
hier waren ein Mann und eine Frau, die eine Tasche...
Das geht leider nicht. High security area.
While Eric was still trying to calm Sarah down, a sergeant came in with a report. After that, Sarah was taken to an office and given an explanation that completely shocked her. According to the embassy's records, Sarah had arrived alone. Josh's name wasn't on the visitor list. Even all the CCTV footage showed Sarah entering the building by herself. Hearing that, Sarah immediately got angry because she was absolutely sure she'd come with her son. She then asked to be connected to the German police. Once the call went through, Sarah immediately reported that her son was missing. However, the police explained that the U.S. Embassy was under the jurisdiction of the United States, so they had no authority to investigate inside the building. The only thing they could do was send 2 officers to escort Sarah out of the embassy.
Ist Rolf?
Rausgeh, dann komm ich doch nie wieder rein!
Hey! Ich wünsche Ihnen alles Gute.
A little while later, when Gunnery left the room for something else, Sarah was locked alone inside the office. She took the opportunity to call her mother and asked her to immediately contact the police and the government for help. Sarah was convinced that her son had been kidnapped by the embassy, but her mother doubted what she was saying and asked if Sarah was still taking her medication regularly. Those words made Sarah even more desperate because no one believed her, not even her own mother. Ever since the trauma she suffered during the war, Sarah had often experienced hallucinations because of severe mental stress. That's why her mother thought Sarah was having another episode. Realizing that no one was going to help her, Sarah decided to look for her son herself. She found a safety pin, straightened it out, and used it to pick the lock, successfully getting out of the room. Sarah went back to the playroom and found one of Josh's toy cars. That only strengthened her belief that she really had come with her son. Holding on to that belief, Sarah began acting more boldly. She destroyed the CCTV cameras along her path, so her movements couldn't be tracked, then searched every room in the building. When Sarah opened a locked room, she found a girl named Irina. The girl screamed in fear at first, but Sarah quickly calmed her down and explained that she was only looking for her missing son.
Deutsch. Englisch, Deutsch? Hast du einen kleinen Jungen gesehen? Ungefähr so groß.
As Sarah was about to leave, Irina stopped her and admitted that she had been trapped there for 2 months. Irina offered to help Sarah find Josh on one condition. Sarah had to help her escape from the embassy. After thinking it over for a moment, Sarah finally agreed to the deal.
Security. Du brauchst jemanden, der sich auskennt. Ich kann dir helfen.
Meanwhile, in another part of the building, Joanna received a report about the chaos Sarah had caused. From the report, Joanna also learned that the woman wandering through the building while damaging various facilities was actually a former Special Forces soldier with extraordinary combat skills. After learning about Sarah's background, Joanna immediately ordered Eric to hand her over to the police before the situation at the embassy got even more out of control. But Eric refused because he believed doing so would only destroy Sarah's future due to the legal charges she would have to face.
Irina.
Lassen Sie dich hier ins Internet? Bist du ein politischer Flüchtling?
While continuing to look for another way, Sarah found the bag that one of the young men had been carrying near the restricted area. When she opened it, she discovered it was filled with a large amount of drugs. Before she could figure out what was really going on, several guards came to capture Irina. Seeing that, Sarah became even more convinced that the embassy was hiding something. Without hesitation, she fought back against the guards and managed to take them down. But before Irina could explain everything, Eric came up from behind, grabbed Sarah, and injected her with a drug, causing her to pass out. Sometime later, Sarah woke up in a room with Eric and Joanna. Sarah insisted that the only reason she was there was to find her son. In response, Joanna said she had just spoken with Sarah's mother and learned that Sarah had been suffering from severe acute trauma ever since the failed mission in Afghanistan. The trauma had caused Sarah to frequently experience memory problems and hallucinations. To convince her, Eric showed her the CCTV footage again. But just like before, every recording only showed Sarah entering the embassy alone without a child. After seeing the evidence, Sarah began to doubt her own memory and wondered if everything she had been going through was nothing more than hallucinations.
Ihre Mutter sagt, dass es schon einmal so einen zwischen... Wir haben mit einer Psychologin gesprochen, von der deutschen Behörde abgeholt und in einen...
Ich habe auf ihn aufgepasst. Ich bin mit ihm heute hierher gekommen. Josh! Bitte machen Sie mich los!
The next morning, Irina came back to see Sarah in disguise so she wouldn't be recognized. Once they felt the situation was safe, Sarah finally learned who the girl really was. Irina explained that her father was a politician and head of a criminal organization that had secretly carried out operations for the U.S. government for years. But after her father changed his political direction, the government had him killed instead. Since then, Irina had been captured and became a fugitive. According to her, the people chasing her when Sarah found her had actually come to kill her. Irina also said that she wanted to escape quietly so she could reunite with her mother. If she used official channels, the government would always find and kill her. At first, Sarah thought the whole story was just another one of her hallucinations, but Irina deliberately injured her own hand to prove that she was real. That made Sarah start to realize that someone might have been manipulating her mind all this time and covering up a much bigger truth. After that, Sarah went back to look for the two young men she had seen earlier near the restricted area.
Komm.
When she finally found one of them, Sarah immediately asked where her son was. The young man claimed to know where Josh was, but in return, Martello demanded that Sarah give back his bag of drugs. From the way Martello spoke, Sarah immediately realized he was lying. Even so, she pretended to believe him and asked for a map of the building and an access card before agreeing to return the bag. In the middle of their conversation, Sarah saw Eric arriving with his daughter. Not long afterward, Irina noticed that Eric's daughter had left a toy phone on the table. They quietly took it. About 30 minutes later, Martello kept his promise by giving Sarah the access card and the building map in the men's restroom.
IT support team's on it, so you got one. Supposedly they were decommissioned after the Iraq War.
What is this?
Rec Center.
It's gonna look like you put up a fierce fight.
Using those two items, Sarah and Irina immediately snuck into the sergeant's office to check the computer there. Irina found a special file containing Sarah's complete personal records. Sarah was shocked to discover that the embassy had been monitoring her life long before that day's incident. Not long after, Sarah found another file labeled Islamabad meeting. Inside the file was a photo of Eric in Islamabad. The photo immediately reminded Sarah of the video the journalist had sent earlier. She contacted the journalist right away and finally got some important information. The journalist revealed that the person who had leaked the location of a U.S. military base in Afghanistan, leading to the enemy attack, was actually Eric. In return, Eric had received a large sum of money. The journalist's video was the key piece of evidence, but the face of the person meeting with Eric still couldn't be seen clearly. The journalist then promised to enhance the footage and send it over as soon as possible.
Regional Specialist in Islamabad. Das ist Kind. Was wissen Sie über ihn?
Before the image arrived, Gunnery suddenly walked into his office. Sarah and Irina quickly transferred all the data to Irina's laptop, then were forced to take Gunnery down so they could escape to the rooftop.
I need backup. They're heading towards...
In der zweiten Nacht wurden wir angegriffen.
After they got there, the image sent by the journalist was finally finished processing. From the image, Sarah recognized a man with Eric as a Taliban leader who had led the attack on their base in Afghanistan. At that moment, Sarah became completely convinced that Eric was a traitor working with the Taliban. After that, Sarah and Irina headed to the truck loading warehouse. To give Irina a chance to escape, Sarah distracted the guards by attacking them. While the fight was going on, Eric arrived with additional security officers. Even though she was surrounded by so many people, Sarah's fighting skills were still far superior. She managed to take down all the guards, including Eric. After that, Sarah grabbed Eric's pistol and pointed it directly at his head.
Ich weiß, dass Sie unsere Position...
Sarah demanded to know why Eric was so determined to get rid of her. According to Sarah, she was the only soldier who had survived the attack in Afghanistan. Sarah was also the only living witness who knew what had really happened. That was why Eric had been trying to silence her, so his betrayal would never be exposed. Sarah made it clear that she had no intention of killing Eric and only wanted her son back. But Eric threatened that if anything happened to him, Sarah would never find her son again. Realizing the threat was serious, Sarah chose to back down and come up with another plan. Not long afterward, Sarah took Eric's daughter to a secure area and locked her inside a room to use as a bargaining chip. As soon as he learned that his daughter had been kidnapped, Eric, along with Gunnery and all the security officers, immediately surrounded the room. Sarah finally gave him one condition. Eric had come alone if he wanted his daughter released. Eric agreed to the demand. As soon as he entered the room, he immediately turned off the PA system so no one could hear their conversation. Inside the room, Sarah told Eric that she already knew he had been trying to kill her all this time. She even said she was willing to sacrifice her own life as long as her son was returned safely. Feeling like he had no way out, Eric finally confessed to everything he had done. He admitted that he had met with the Taliban and leaked the location of the American base in exchange for money. Eric also admitted that Sarah had indeed come to the embassy with her son. To frame Sarah, he deliberately erased every trace of Josh from the CCTV footage, so everyone would believe that Sarah had arrived alone. After confessing everything, Eric shot Sarah, wounded his own leg, then placed a gun in Sarah's hand to make it look like he had acted in self-defense. After that, Eric walked out of the room pretending to be the victim, But Sarah was still alive. Without Eric knowing, his entire confession had been recorded using his daughter's toy phone. Outside the building, everyone still believed Sarah was a terrorist and were preparing to blow up the building. Just before the explosion was carried out, Sarah played Eric's recorded confession through the PA system. All the officers finally heard for themselves that Eric had betrayed his country by working with the Taliban for money and had framed Sarah. After the truth was exposed, Gunnery immediately ordered Eric to be arrested. Sarah was finally rescued, and her son was also found and returned to her after receiving medical treatment. Sarah made a full recovery. She was finally able to live a happy and peaceful life with her son. The end.